Harry Joy had one big problem he didn't know about. He was about to die.
The fact that this is my first film, it's a kind of honour to have your first film preserved like this.
Bliss was chosen. It's a very interesting film made in 1985. It's famous or infamous for the fact that out of the 2,000 seats at the premiere at Cannes, because it was invited to the Cannes Film Festival, 400 people out of the 2,000 audience walked out of the screening. However, when it came back here and the director, Ray Lawrence, re-edited, strange things actually happened, and the fact that it found an audience here, and it was one of the true sleeper films.
If a film can cause controversy, which Bliss most certainly did, then you've achieved something. But the most important thing, of course, it became a commercial success in the cinema here when it won the AFI Awards.
And the winner is Ray Lawrence for Bliss.
And the winner is Bliss.
Peter Carey and Ray Lawrence for Bliss.
Bliss, the best feature film for 1985.
In the case of Bliss, we managed to acquire original printing components a few years ago, and we knew that they were in the collection. So when NFSA Restores began, it was definitely, you know, one of the films that we wanted to go with. We're lucky to be able to do it now.
All that water and such luminous eyes.
Good story, Harry. Yeah, good story.
Tell that story before.
The longest part of the restoration process is actually at the beginning. Despite, you know, what people think, we really have to analyse our material, our source material, what we're going to come from. And what we've decided here at the NFSA is that we go back to the original picture neg. That is the film that actually ran through the camera, that we actually store.
The negative is, the original negative has been lost. It's in America somewhere, nobody knows where it is.
If we don't have the original picture neg, then we'll look at the interpositive. We check the sync, we look to make sure that we've got the appropriate sound. We may have the vision, but we may not have the sound to match that.
The Bliss material was a three-stripe mag, 35mm mag. I think it was okay. And we had the synchronisation was just checked against some scratch image next door in video services.
This is a mental hospital where we lock up mad people. This is a mental hospital where we lock up mad people.
You're too nice to go to hell, Harry. If anyone's going to hell, it's going to be me. You're too nice to go to hell, Harry. If anyone's going to hell, it's going to be me.
For restoration work, I use a variety of digital tools. I use the Cedar Cambridge system, and I use a variety of CubeTech HDA plugins, declickers and decracklers, etc. that work on the WaveLab editing system. I also use Avid Pro Tools, which allows me to edit and check synchronization and have a video reference while I'm restoring. And I think it also requires a lot of patience. Yeah, if you're not a patient person, I think you get very frustrated restoring sounds.
May I use your phone?
Don't you think, Mr. Duval, that you should find out first just how much money you will require?
So once that process has been completed, we progress with the scanning, the grading, the cleaning, and that can take anywhere up to, 180, 200 hours.
My job was to scan the original or the IP film onto our Baselights grading system and basically just restore it to its former glory, getting rid of a lot of scratches and dirt that has appeared over the years and colour grading any biases, colour biases out, that the film might have had over the years. Basically it's all digital files, so we scan the film using the Northlight scanner, which is also made by Filmlight, onto the system. And the system basically just allows us to colour grade, degrain, sharpen, and do all the necessary little bits and pieces that are needed to restore the film. The most frustrating part is always just a lot of very dark scenes that have got a lot of heavy grain in it. Sometimes frustrating coming up against those. Degraining is an option we have in Baselight to take some of the grain out. Unfortunately, degraining is always a bit of a compromise between sharpness and grain, so the more you degrain something, the softer it will get, so that's a compromise. And in terms of these restorations, it's often restoring it to what the film was like at the time, so there's always a trade-off between you know, what you could make it now and relatively speaking what it looked like at the time, and that's what the restoration is supposed to be, a record of what it was at the time.
That's the difference between remastering and restoration. This is replicating the film as it was then, so there's kind of no little fix-ups.
It's always a bit nerve-wracking working with some of these directors, though, you know, a lot of them are legends like Ray, who's been in the industry for years, and it's just, yeah, very nice getting the final sign-off. He was fairly happy. He only wanted to do a few little tweaks here and there, and he seemed, yeah, very happy with the process and seeing it up on the big screen again.
I've only ever seen the film with a lot of scratches, and so when I first sat down and saw this clean print, it's the best I've seen it for 30 years.
Because what's really important out of all of this, it's not just getting a file that can be played in all the cinemas. We're looking at, you know, really creating a set of preservation masters as well.
It's just great to see a film back on the screen again, and in its best condition. With what we're doing now, the films look just like incredible, and it's just really great that we can actually get it back into the cinemas, seeing how they're, you know, all digital now, and you know, basically we're working with analog material and reviving it.
I think it is enabling the films to be actually seen on the big screen again.
I think their reaction will be one of a pleasant surprise that we were making 30, 40 years ago mature films that weren't just for Australian audiences, they were travelling the world.
It's about who we are, they're our stories, and to have that sort of, to have the access to all those sort of films is a really special thing.